Hey everyone! In this tutorial I'm going to show you how to do a brioche stitch, and I'm going to show you from the beginning because the cast on needs to be nice and loose. These are my cubic needles here, and typically when you're doing something that needs a little bit more stretch, like the brioche stitch, this is the scarf pattern that I have on my site, it needs that stretch for a nice thick brioche stitch, and you can see how soft that is and how thick the stitch itself is too. It's a great stitch for scarves. I absolutely love it. Typically when you're doing a brioche stitch you use needles that are 1 millimeter or one size smaller than what's recommended for this yarn. So this yarn is Karen and they recommend a 5. These are 4 millimeter needles. I also stitch Continental wise, so they usually gives a little bit more space. I'm going to be doing another tutorial also for doing brioche on an English way, English wise. So we'll start now with the Continental. So what you're going to do is you're going to pull 3 times the amount of what your cast on is going to be. So if it's 4 inches, you need 12 inches. If it's 10 inches, you need to pull 30. And do your single slip here, okay, and you're going to put this onto 2 needles, and what this is going to do is give you a cast on row that is bigger, so it'll give that extra space for that stretch that I just showed you. So for casting on, you have your feet on one side and your tail on the other. Bring your finger underneath, hold that yarn under here, and pull your thumb through, underneath here. Pull your needle down so you're not have this big space. You need to cross your yarns here, and take your needles over to the feet underneath your fingers and through like that. So over, under, through. And don't pull too tight on that tail, because you need, even with the extra space here, if you're using one needle especially, you want to be able to get your other needle underneath and make sure both needles go through like that just happened there. Oh, let's do this again. Both needles through, and I'm just going to quickly go through here to get a sample and show you how to do a brioche stitch. With a brioche you have one setup, and then every row after that is the same, but there's a little bit of a trick. So we've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Good. You need even numbers. We're going to take the one needle out. Okay, so separate your tail and your feed. So you've got your feed line here. And what you're going to do is your first row, this is Continental, is you're going to be doing a yarn over first and then slipping your first stitch. Okay, so you're going to end up with 2 stitches on this side. Now the first one you do, you're going to have to hold it with your finger, because obviously that's going to want to fall off. So just hold it over with your finger. It's easier whenever you don't let it fall off. And then knit. And you're just going to keep doing that. Grab underneath, you're going to be slipping, have your yarn over there, pull it off, go through. Okay, yarn over, slip the first stitch off, hold it with your finger, and knit. Yarn over, slip stitch, knit. yarn over, slip stitch, knit, and do that same going all the way across, slip, knit, yarn over, through the bottom, slip, knit. Now, that's just the one row. That's just your setup row. Now I'm going to show you here. See the way that these are? You've got your single here, and then you have a double stitch here because you've done a yarn over. Okay? See that? These are always going to stay together. Okay? So what you're going to be doing is, again, yarn over, put the needle underneath, slip that first stitch, right, with the yarn over. Now what you're going to be doing is these two stitches, like I said, they'll always stay together, so you're going to knit those two together like that, and then do the yarn over for your first stitch and slip that first stitch to the left and knit two together. So yarn over, underneath just as before, slip it off, hold it with your finger, see the two stitches there, and then on your right take the two stitches that you made before, knit them together and off. And that's what you do for the whole row. That's what you do for the whole piece. That is the brioche stitch. So yarn over, slip off, knit two together, yarn over, grab that stitch, pull it off, hold it with your finger. Now take your needle, knit those two together and off. Yarn over. See what I'm doing here is holding the yarn with my needle, slip it off, knit two together, and done. Now what you're going to see eventually, at the first few rows it might look like a mess. I swear to you it's going to eventually look like this, okay? It takes a few rows for that pattern to form, but as you can see it's such a soft fabric. I love making scarves out of this, especially with soft yarn like this. And you can see how thick that stitch is right there. Now I'm going to show you when you bind off. When you're binding off, you can do the regular bind off, but count these two as one, just for the like with the rest of the piece. So you've got your knit. This is in binding off. Knit these two together the way you did in the piece, and then pull the first one over, and your single is one, pull it over, and your double is one, just the same way it was for the piece itself. And that's your cast off, and that is how you do the brioche stitch. Now if you knit English wise, I will have a video up on knitting the brioche stitch English wise also. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe. Bye.